There it is. There it is.
Here we are.
Here we are. Not in person
Officially,
anymore.
yeah, officially the end of an era.
Officially a remote podcast. Jaden has moved home to
Yes.
Las Vegas. Uh, yep.
Yep.
That's all.
Home,
Yeah.
home of the sin.
That's what they say. That's what they tell me.
Right. It's pretty trash.
Well, well, we had a great conversation last week with Tommy,
Yep.
talking country music. So we're gonna do the opposite of that today. We're gonna talk some hip hop, some new music. We went on Instagram. People wanted to hear about the Future record with
Yeah.
Metro Boomin.
Right.
Pretty close between that and Beyonce.
I was kind
Not
of shocked.
yeah, I am too. I mean, Beyonce's got a big following though, so like,
Not too surprised.
not all that crazy of a thing to happen, but
Right.
no one really cared to hear about MGK and Trippie Redd or Joyner Lucas, but I say we give it a go anyways.
Right.
If
Let's
you've
let's give
listened
them
to them,
let's give them a little bit of praise
yeah,
or
okay.
hate.
Let's. Which one do you want to start with? We're gonna go through the Beyonce, the MGK, Trippie Redd, and the Joyner Lucas pretty quick, and then
Right.
we'll talk Future and Metro Boomin a little more in depth. Which one do you want to start with?
Let's start with MGK and Trippie Redd because
Okay.
when you sent me a post about them doing that, I immediately hated. I immediately said that's going to be
Yeah.
absolutely garbage and I don't want to listen to that.
Hmm.
I'm not going to lie, out of all of the projects that might be my favorite one that was released. Yeah, no,
Really?
I'm so serious. I actually really enjoyed the album.
I mean, that makes me a little
EP.
worried for like your mental health because, like, what does that say about you if that's
No, it was super vibey. And I mean, like, I understand that it's like supposed to be the sad boy album and whatever,
right?
but I think why I immediately was like, this isn't gonna work is because one, I just think Trippie Redd isn't that good of an artist in general. So
Yeah.
I expected a lot of mumble rap or like super corny lines. But I mean, like his singing was for Trippie Redd, for what I know of, it was a lot better. He
Yeah.
was like a lot clearer. And I mean, we've heard MGK and Trippie on songs before, and so it's
Hmm.
not new.
Right.
They sound good together. Obviously there's a couple where it's like, pretty trash.
Right.
But I was pleasantly surprised after listening to it. I was very pleased from listening to it.
All right. To each their own. I mean, I will say that I did not think it was good. I thought it was pretty bad. Um, However, I will say the internet's kind of been like just torching it, like worst album ever.
Wow.
It's absolute garbage. No redemptive qualities to it. I don't think that's true. I think there's
Right.
like it's not all that bad. I think it's getting a little blown out of proportion in terms of the
Hmm.
hate of it. I really don't like it very much, and
Yeah.
it's just because I've heard, like you, I'm not the biggest Trippie Redd guy. I've heard Trippie Redd that I like a lot. Like there's a few of his songs that I think are pretty solid, and
Right.
there's a few MGK songs that I think are pretty solid as well. But I just think compared to their best that I've heard from both of them, I think it's pretty weak in general.
Fair.
Um, but again, like I don't think that's to say there's no redemptive quality. I can see what you're saying. That's just kind of vibey. It's like mellow, like you can, whatever, quote unquote sad boy music, but it's just
Right.
like really, it really more comes across super mellow.
Yeah.
Um, Content wise, it is kind of a little annoying. Like, have you ever cried in a limo? Like,
Yeah, there were things like that. Like I remember he said that line and I like was by myself, but verbally, very out loud was like, "No, I haven't."
yeah,
Like
like,
carry on.
and not that I need everything to be relatable, but like, what the heck are we talking about here? You know what I mean? It's one of
Yeah.
those kinds of things.
Right.
Did you pick a best and worst track for these
Yeah.
albums? Okay,
Yeah.
let's
So
let's hear
the
yours.
the only one that I didn't was Joyner.
Okay.
Just because I didn't get around to it.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Anyways, so for MGK and Trippie, I had Lost Boys, but I also thought Beauty was up there. I thought Beauty was a
Okay.
pretty good track. I thought the worst one was easily time travel. That one was
Mm,
garbage. Hot
yeah.
garbage.
Yeah. It was tough for me to pick a favorite and least favorite from this one, just because a lot of it is very similar
Hmm.
in terms of stylistic execution.
Right.
Um, I think Struggles is kind of cool just because I like the production on it. It's like that mellow vibe
Yeah.
style that you're kind of talking about, and I think Trippie's singing sounds pretty decent over the chorus. Um, if we're going for least favorite, like, I'll just I'll tap in with what you said. I'll say
Cool.
time travel as well, because like I said, it's kind of hard for me to nail one down. I don't
Right.
know how you make a JID feature sound so depressive and boring, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you have like a general rating for the project, or are we foregoing that one for these?
I mean, off the top of my head, just because I didn't actually rate these, I'd probably give it
Yeah.
like a 6.5, like
Okay.
a 7. Just because I feel like in the past I've heard a lot of, and just this is just in general, but like I've heard a
Yeah.
lot of great albums, and this doesn't touch those, but like me personally, I did enjoy, so it'd be like a
Yeah.
6.5,
Okay.
closer to a 7.
Sure. Uh, I I give it like a 4, but
Yeah.
um, moving on to let's do Joyner Lucas
Okay.
next. We'll save a little more time for Beyonce.
Yeah.
I'll jump into this one here and start by saying Joyner Lucas is 1,000% a dude that I would think is so cool when I was in high school, just because he raps fast.
Yeah.
Like that's that's a cool appeal, like in your initial listen of him. If you're like,
Hmm.
oh, he's got a cool voice for like this high paced rap flow,
Right.
and that's pretty sweet. But then you get 3-4 albums in, and you're like, okay, that's all he does.
Yeah.
Like there's not really all that's original. There's not really all that's impressive.
Right.
Um, so that being said, there's some moments on this one I enjoy for sure. A few more songs that I come back to than the MGK Trippie Redd one.
Hmm.
Um, but all in all, for a project that's over an hour long and 17 songs long, I thought it was pretty boring
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah. Yeah. I 100% agree. I was let down, and that to me is crazy because I wasn't even expecting this incredible album. I was a little bit more excited because of the singles that he did put out, and I actually did enjoy those singles from the album. But yeah, listening through it just once again, like I'm disappointed because I know he has more that he can do, but he's not doing it. Like
Does
he's
he? Does
so
he
good.
though?
Actually, at this point, I don't even know. It's pretty hard to have his
It
back when it
feels
comes
like
to
he should. I get what you're
yeah,
saying. It feels like he should be able to
right.
do more.
Like I feel like maybe after ADHD came out, I feel like okay, that was a good like plateau. Like ADHD is solid, like not super great, but you're coming up. But
Yeah,
then
sure.
Evolution wasn't very good,
Yeah.
and to me that was a step backwards. This one's kind of back to that, like it's like almost back to ADHD, but I feel like Joyner should have been, I don't know, making solid albums. And
Yeah.
instead, I just know that he can make a solid single and like put that out.
Yeah.
Or when I listened to him in high school, I knew him for his remixes, and those were cool and those were fun. But
Yeah.
when it comes to albums, he falls short, and it's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Yeah, for sure. I will say for this one, I'd probably give it somewhere between a 5 and a 6, just because it is a pretty boring album. It
Yeah.
is pretty one dimensional. There's not a whole lot to it that's super memorable. But again, kind of like the MGK thing for you and Trippie Redd album, there's a few songs that I come back to, and most of them are the singles. Like
Yeah.
I think "Cut You Off" is probably my favorite track on the album. I think the hook's pretty catchy. I actually really like Young Boy on the feature here. I think his vocals are a good contrast, and he actually sounds pretty good. He doesn't just sound like he's whining and shouting, which is what he normally sounds like.
Right.
Um, 17 is also a pretty cool sample flip of the Mac Miller thing.
Mhm.
But it feels like it's just the Mac Miller beat. And I get kind of what you're saying, maybe in like that it's kind of like his style to go just remix something or
Right.
cover something that someone else has done. And so while I think that's super cool, and I'll come back to it a few times just because his energy on it's pretty high, the beat's cool. Um, I will listen to this song and consciously give Mac Miller the credit for this being a good song because so
Right.
much of the appeal is what came from the Mac Miller track that he
Yeah.
got this from. Um, for my worst track, it's for sure How Much Do You Love Me? For
Mm.
sure. The second to last song. And you'll probably say it's your favorite. I'm feeling like that's
Nah,
the
no, no,
vibe
no, no,
that
no,
I'm
no, no,
getting.
no, no, no,
Okay,
no,
okay.
no.
Um, and I feel bad saying that because I can tell how heartfelt of a track it is,
Mhm.
but it's like so corny. It's so corny. It's like literally the things that you say to like your high school girlfriend to like
Yeah.
let them know, like, hey, I really do like you. It feels like that. And I'm like, dude, you're pushing what, 30? Like he's not a young man.
Oh,
And you're just talking on 17, a track earlier about like meeting a bunch of freaky girls. Like
yeah.
it doesn't feel genuine and it feels super cringy and corny. If you do have that to say to your significant other and that vibes with them, cool. Maybe just don't put it on an album that the
Right.
whole world's gonna hear because
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't for me. That's what I'll finish with that.
You gotta are you counting the ones that you were saying earlier, like your favorite tracks, like 17 and
Yeah. I
okay.
think Cut You Off is probably what I would say is the best, just because with 17, I give so much of that credit to Mac Miller. I'll say
Yeah.
Cut You Off is the best Joyner song on the
Okay.
album.
So my like I said, I didn't really prepare only for Joyner for least and favorite, but off the top of my head, I think my favorite is What's That? That's kind of what got me pretty excited for the album. I love the energy. I do like that, you know, him rapping fast is like his thing, but I've even gotten to the point where like it's not even that impressive to me. And that used to be like my go-to because of Eminem, like
Right.
just solely
Yeah.
listening
Yeah.
to him. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm at a point where I listen to so much music where I actually enjoy understanding and being able to follow along at like a decent pace. Like I don't just
Right.
want this fast rap and that's all you can do. But anyways, what's that was solid. I don't really have a least favorite off the top of my head. It was just pretty
Yeah.
boring.
Yeah. For
So,
sure. For sure. That'll wrap up the Joyner discussion, I
yep.
suppose. Let's get into the biggest album probably to release this week. The Beyonce. I guess it's kind of Renaissance Part Two is the vibe I'm getting. Cowboy Carter, the country album, 27 tracks long,
Dude, it was so freaking long.
hour and 20 minutes. Um, I'll start us off here because I will say I think Beyonce is a very talented individual. I think she got a really good voice.
Right.
Renaissance wasn't for me. I didn't really vibe with it.
Hmm.
I didn't really love the style. I didn't really love a lot of the tracks on there. It just wasn't for me. I wouldn't like go out of my way to hate on it, but not my cup of tea. So going
Yeah.
into this one, I had pretty low expectations, especially after how big Texas Hold'em is.
Hmm.
But I was pretty pleasantly surprised. There's a good amount of this album that I think is really good. I think what I appreciate the most is her artistry on the album
Hmm.
because I think in what she's talking about with genre boundaries um and kind of her place in the music industry and like just the subject matter that she touches on. She picks a lot of songs that refer to her family dynamic now as a result of like everything that her and Jay-Z have gone through since like the infidelity stuff.
Hmm.
So I really appreciate the storyline that she's going through on here. And I really appreciate the artistry. which I didn't think I would, because when you hear Texas Hold'em, I was like, this is the like this is such an attention grab. Like
Yeah.
she's just going for attention and TikTok sound here, because this song isn't all that good. It's not all that original. It's just kind of taking what everyone else is doing in, pop and country, and just putting Beyonce's name on it so that Beyonce can go viral.
Yeah.
But most of the album's not like that. Most of it's very well put together. Still some songs that I'm like aren't for me necessarily, but
Yeah.
a lot that I do enjoy quite a bit. The artistry is probably my favorite part of that. And if we had a more in-depth review, I would go into that some more. I will say my only complaint is I think the features that she picked are really not very daring.
Mm.
They're like you take Post Malone, you take Miley Cyrus, you take Shabuzi, and they're just very easy picks for like an
Right.
R&B country project.
Yeah.
I think it would have been super interesting for her to do something with like a Luke Combs or a Zach Bryan or a Casey Musgraves,
Right.
or Ernest, or someone that is a little more, I don't know what the word is, but just not so Beyonce style in
Yeah.
the first place.
Right.
Because a lot of these are not that they're bad. I think they have their place. I just would have liked a little more daring effort from her in going into her first country project. But all that being said, I do think it's quite good.
Yeah. I throughout listening to this thing, I constantly went back and forth to I like it and I don't. I I'm with you. Like I do think that Beyonce is a talented artist, but me personally, I do think that she is overrated and
Yeah,
overhyped.
I'll agree with that for
Like
sure.
if she's gonna put out trash, I'm not gonna sit back and say no, it was
Sure.
actually pretty good. Like I kind of no, it was
Yeah.
trash. Um, and that's how I felt with like Texas Hold'em. I was like, no, this isn't a good song.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't like this. I remember my
Right.
friend when it first came out, she was like, "Oh my gosh, did you hear Beyonce's new single?" I was like, "No." She's like, "You should listen to it." I was like, "Okay, listen to it." And she's like, "So what do you think?" I was like, "No, it was trash." And she's like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
No, it's not very good. But
Yeah.
listening to the actual album, I'll give her more credit for this one. Just because there were definitely aspects of the album that I did enjoy. Um, I do agree that it would have been cool to see her pick out people such as like Morgan and Luke Combs and whoever else, but I
Yeah.
do enjoy the features that, she does have on.
Right.
Some of my favorite tracks were like Levi's Jeans and Most Wanted. I thought those were great tracks
Mm-hmm.
where they both complement each other very, very well.
Right.
Um, yeah, I mean, like, I do think it was in the end a solid album. It was the only really gripe I have with it is it was super long.
Yeah.
And I mean, just like any album, like you're gonna have your duds and your misses, so that's not even
Sure.
really a discredit to her. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a lot better than I thought a
Mm-hmm.
country labeled Beyonce album would go. So
Yeah, for sure. And I'll echo some of what you're saying. I think there's for sure moments on here that aren't great. And for me, those moments are when I feel like she's going somewhere pretty solid artistically, and she's blending R&B and country and pop really well. And I'm like,
mhm.
this is really working. And I appreciate what you're saying. I appreciate the vibe you're giving me. And then she's like, okay, don't forget that I'm hip hop and I'm trap and we're going to rap over this country beat. And it's like, just like, you're a good rapper. Like for a singer, like for someone who's known for having a great singing voice, she's not a bad rapper in terms of
Yeah,
like flow ability.
right.
She's not going to win a rap battle against her husband or whatever, but she's technically proficient in her ability to rap for a
Agreed.
female singer. But like, this doesn't sound good. Like this little rap that we're doing over this pop country beat just so you can prove you're still rapping, it doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
I would love to hear Beyonce rap on other songs and projects, like on the
Right.
Carter's album she did with Jay-Z. I think there's some moments on there she sounds great. Um, but yeah, I will agree with largely what you said. That especially at first, I went kind of back and forth on how I was feeling
Yeah.
about it. But I will say overall, I do enjoy it quite a bit. I'd like to give it some more listens to kind of
Yeah.
see where it ultimately is going to fit in for me. But I'd probably give this thing like a 7 overall for
Yeah.
now, which is kind of my safe go-to number when I kind of enjoy something but don't know how much.
Yeah.
Um, for my favorite track, I would probably say I hate picking singles just because it feels so easy, but I think
Mhm.
16 Carriages is fantastic. I think the writing on it is so powerful, and I think the way she sounds on the song is it just it's a very powerful song, and in
Yeah.
kind of the message you're getting from it and what she's talking about and how she's performing it. I also do really like some of the ones you brought up, but I'll also throw in Tyrant with Dolly Parton near the
Mm.
bottom.
Yeah.
I think that one's a really solid song. I enjoy the instrumental on there. The worst for me is pretty easily Texas Hold'em. I don't think it fits on the track list. In listening to it like a couple times as I was getting ready for our discussion about it,
Yeah.
I feel how it fits more, but it still feels like just an attention grab for TikTok. It doesn't feel like
Right.
a good song. It doesn't feel like she's actually trying to make a good Beyonce song. It
Yeah.
just feels like she's trying to get attention.
Right.
And, if you want to do that, great, because she succeeded at it and it's blown up. So
Right.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's great, though.
Right. I probably agree with where your rating is. I'd probably put it like just barely above the MGK track or album, just because me personally, I might enjoy the MGK EP a little bit more than this album. It might also help that there's 10 tracks over over 20. So, but either way, I do think
27.
yeah, that's ridiculous. Almost pushing 30 is crazy.
Yeah.
But so my favorite song ended up being Blackbird along with like Most
Yeah.
Wanted.
That
That's
one's pretty solid as well.
isn't that a song? Like, isn't that somebody else's song though? Like,
Blackbird
yeah, it sounds very, very familiar to like,
putting
like
me on the
either an
spot.
original, what the heck, an original or like I don't know, I don't know, but I had like this nostalgic memory like come into my mind listening to this song, and I was like, what the, um, while you're doing your
Oh,
little research,
it's I, I didn't. Yeah, it's the Beatles is the original song.
yeah,
I didn't
okay,
realize that.
yeah, I
Maybe it's
immediately
the
knew.
instrumental because the instrumental is different, right? Or is the
I
instrumental the same?
I literally have no idea because I don't
That's
listen to the Beatles
yeah,
or nothing like that.
sure,
But the moment this one came on and like the lyrics were going, I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? Like, I know this song. But,
yeah,
anyways, I really like the way that she's performing it. I don't know what's
hmm
actually different about it, if there is anything, or if she just like, you know, cover whatever.
yeah,
But I really, really liked it. But yeah, Most Wanted, like I kind of had that hand in hand. I really liked Miley Cyrus and Beyonce coming into harmony.
yeah.
I thought it was
They
very,
sounded
very
good.
cool. Yeah.
hmm
My least favorite, I didn't choose Texas Hold'em just because after listening to
It's
it again,
easy.
like, yeah, it's easy. And I was just like, okay, like, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
hmm
But I don't know if this song has any meaning or whatever. I don't dive into a lot of songs like that, but Daughter, I just didn't like at all. Just
Wasn't
from
for
like,
you.
yeah, just wasn't really like a good listening experience for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So,
and I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, like it has some meaning to her, but
right. It just
yeah,
doesn't
understandable.
resonate with me.
Understandable. If it
Yeah.
doesn't resonate with you, it doesn't. But um, I mean, I think that wraps up the
Yeah.
Beyonce project for me. It would have been interesting to do a review on it, but I do think the Future and Metro project probably is a little more up our alley
Yeah,
for
because me and you
discussion
are
here.
going to disagree so much.
Wow. All right. Let's get into it then.
Let's do it.
Let's talk We Don't Trust You. Metro Boomin and Future just went number one, I saw today.
Good for them.
Good for them. Good for them. Regardless of our feelings on Future, Metro Boomin, I feel like as a producer, we both have a lot of respect for.
Absolutely.
So let's start in that category of production. How are you liking the production on the album?
Man, it was some of the weakest Metro Boomin beats I ever heard.
Wow.
Like
Wow.
I was I was so let down from the production. I already know my feelings about Future, but
Yeah.
Metro, like I always expect heat. You can't have heat every single time. And I get that for anybody.
Yeah.
But man, I was just let down after let down after let down. I was like,
Hmm.
these aren't very good beats. Like
Wow.
for what this album is and like who you have on it, these beats are not great.
Wow.
I even did like a second listen through. I wasn't able to get through the entire thing because I ended up falling asleep. But
Yeah, but you
um,
you gave it a listen.
yeah, like I think the best instrumental came off of like that. I thought that
Yeah,
went nuts, incredible.
100%.
I did like the beat switch in Ice Attack. The first half, in my opinion, was like pretty lame, like whatever. But then it hits that beat switch, and
Yeah.
I was getting kind of hyped. But yeah, I was very let
Hmm.
down.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I'll disagree off the bat. I think it's pretty nearly flawless to me.
Wow.
Um, I think I will agree with what you're saying. I think there's a few moments of quote unquote heat or like hype or bangers. But I think he crafts the soundscape very good for Future to do Future's thing on it.
Mhm.
Um, and I will say in something that I had a criticism of it. It's very sample heavy, even
Mhm.
in the like that beat. Like
Right.
if you watch any video on it, it's like he does some originality in it and adds some originality in it, but like the sample is the main portion of the beat there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it goes. It does have a few monotonous moments, but I think for a trap album with Future, I think it sounds fantastic. I
Wow.
think that it's very well executed in terms of the the soundscape that he produces for a trap album. I gave it a 9 in production. What'd you give it?
I gave it a 4.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Like
that's harsh.
man, I was I was very upset with the
Yeah,
with the production.
you weren't like you didn't like Type, Shiz, or Cinderella, Young Metro.
So little spoiler alert, but Type Shiz is my least favorite song on the album.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, you
yeah.
hate Playboy Cardi, and that doesn't surprise me. And
Yeah.
he's one of the weakest parts of the album. So
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into that in a minute.
Right.
But let's talk vocals here because I feel like you're gonna have some harsh criticism here as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like Future. I will always have an open mind and I will always try my hardest to enjoy any kind of music these days. I
Sure.
really don't like how Future sounds a majority of the time. I don't even remember most of the features. I think the best sounding person was Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah. I
But
mean, and as someone who enjoyed the project, I'll agree with you.
right, like it just I that's probably just it. I just don't really like Future. I
It's
don't
not. It's not for you.
It's really not. And
Yeah.
and that's no disrespect to Future. Like, he's made it this far and he makes however much money. Like, he's obviously
Yeah.
appealing to a lot of people. So, like, good for him. That's just not
Yeah.
my style. And that it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, let's peel the layers here. Do you feel like you're a Steelers fan? You've got to
Mm.
defend Russell Wilson.
Oh,
Do you
100%.
feel like you backing Russell Wilson in this Future Russell Wilson beef that makes you hate Future, or it's just the music?
It's just the music.
Yeah, that was a poor joke by me because I don't know if you know the story. Russell
I have
Wilson's
no
married
idea
to
what's going
Future's
on.
Russell Wilson's married to Future's baby mama, Ciara. So
Oh,
they don't really like each other.
that
I from what I gather. But it
that
was a
makes
stupid joke. So
that makes a lot more sense.
yeah. Anyways, I think Future sounds pretty suave on here, pretty dark and mysterious, as he should on a
Yeah,
mellow trap album with Metro. I do think he fails to stray far from that because it's very mundane in like the lack of change up.
yeah,
It's very cadence, flow, dark, monotone, like delivery, which is fine with me on some level. I don't mind when Travis does it. I don't mind when Future
yeah,
does it. But I know Future can bring something a little more unique in his vocals. I've heard it from him.
yeah,
And he doesn't really explore any of that territory on this one because it is just like a mellow trap. I don't even know if mellow is the right word, just kind of
mhm,
like a mysterious trap, darker sounding album. I'm not all that critical of it. So I gave it a 7 because I don't feel like the vocals detract from the album.
yeah.
But I do think there's a lot of room that it could have been improved. Maybe even take that down to a 6, but somewhere in that
Yeah.
ballpark.
So just off the top of my head, I remember that Travis and The Weeknd are both on this project. That helps the case for vocals a little
Sure.
bit. They did sound solid. Do I
Yeah.
think that Travis popped off or The Weeknd? No, but like they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't do bad whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like they did good,
Sure.
just you know, not their best. But I don't know if I said it, but I gave it a 5 for
Okay.
vocal.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. And this category is going to be interesting because uh I feel like you're going to again be a lot more harsh than I am here. But let's talk lyrics on the album because when you're going into a Future album, you can't really expect them to be saying all that much. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's like
Right.
I'm curious how you rated this because like when you go into a Future album, you know he's not going to be saying anything all that
Yeah.
interesting. So how did you break this down?
So that one, like, because I don't expect Future to be like super deep with his lyrics or things are gonna go over your head. If he has any kind of bar, it's gonna be right to your face, like you're gonna get it off bat.
Yeah,
So like I didn't judge that as harsh. But I mean like it's not like the lyrics were very good either. Like
sure.
it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be for him. Like I definitely thought I would hate all of it. But I
Yeah.
mean, there were definitely, and I read when I was doing my little second go around, like I was reading along to like what he was saying. And
Hmm.
yes, a lot of it is just stupid crap that I don't care to listen to. But then
Sure.
I was surprised with how much not that was in there. So
Yeah.
I was able to like kind of vibe along my second like go around and not really I don't even know. I didn't really care what he had to say, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
just
For sure.
knew Future was going to be Future and I just let that be. So that experience was a little bit better. The most of the features did solid like
Yeah.
lyrically. But yeah, I mean that one wasn't as bad. Like I gave that one a
Right.
6.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was better
Um.
than the other two categories.
For sure. For sure. I agreed with you a lot in what you said because going into a Future project, my feeling more so is how cringy is it going to get?
Right.
And the more cringy it gets, the more harsh I'm going to be. And so there's a couple of like bars where I'm like, what the?
Right.
But there's also a few bars where I'm like, okay, that was a pretty good jab, like pretty good dig at whoever you're
Yeah.
talking about. Um, Obviously, the features help out some here and there. The lyrics are for sure forgettable for the most part, but again, I'm not judging this album based on like an Eminem, J. Cole
Right.
criteria. It's like for Future standard, what am I getting? Um, and I think it does decent in that regard. I gave it a 7. Um, Again here, just because, like I said, I don't think there's too much cringy stuff. There's a couple things that he does better than he's done on past projects.
Yeah.
and the features for sure help out some. So
Yeah, agreed.
well, let's get into this concept. It's a pretty loose one, like, and it's, you get it from the title. We don't trust you, like this whole like us against the world kind of thing. I think it's fine and dandy the way they go about it. You get the point. You get what they're talking about. I just don't think it measures up to the thematic standard that Metro's proven he's capable of. Because you listen to a Heroes and Villains and you're going through it, and you got Morgan Freeman walking you through this narrative of each song, and you're like, wow, this is more than just bangers. Even though you got that, it's like you're actually, if you go through it, there's actually an experience to be had here.
Right.
Even on Savage Mode 2 with 21, you get that similar kind of vibe on a very similar theme of an album. It's probably a 6 or a 7 for me. It's hard to like nail down what I feel like on it, because it is a pretty loose concept, but that's how I'm feeling.
Yeah, so this is where we do agree. Finally, we finally meet the crossroads. I gave it a 7.
Yeah.
Because my thought process is, yes, I do agree. Like, there could have been more to this concept, but honestly, I saw it as just a diss album.
Yeah.
And I think they went about it correctly. Like, even though I'm not for Future, like he's not my guy or anything like that.
Yeah.
I liked the way that they went about it. And that's why I like, Kendrick's portion and just who they kind of picked up. It gets me excited for the future. And so I kind of like had that help me come up with a score for this one.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know, or at least I haven't seen many albums cause something that we know will be coming in the future shortly. Like this new aged rap beef with, some would say some of the greats. So I don't know. Like, even listening through, you can tell like that they're sneak dissing like in a good majority of the songs.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just liked the way that they went about it.
Right.
I thought it was cool. So
I think it's funny that they're probably in the studio, right? And I saw this on Instagram, but it's like Future and Metro are in the studio, and The Weeknd is humming on the background of a track, and they're like plotting how to diss Drake, and Metro's just like, "Hey, you know who else don't like that guy? Let's call up K Dot." And I think how that all went down must have been crazy, but
yeah.
Let's get into that now. Let's talk features here. Obviously, this is what everybody's been talking about from the album, and I think they're pretty exceptional. I'll get to Kendrick in a minute, but like Rick Ross sounds great on here. It's one of the tracks I enjoy quite a bit. It's solid for him. The Weeknd provides some unique elements, kind of in this little Kid Cudi feature bag of just like adding an element to the song, not necessarily like a full length feature per se. Trav comes on and does some unique stuff for him. He's almost in a similar like Weeknd vibe, just background element on part of it, and then obviously has some features and flows where he does something a little unique for him. Lamar feature, which everybody's talking about, big deal. I made a post about it, kind of sharing my thoughts, but for the episode here, I'll kind of share some of the same. First of all, he sounds great. Like, top tier feature, one of the best recent rap features I've heard. Some of his best work that I've heard recently. It's fantastic all around. I think the shots are, adequate. I think they're super solid. Especially for it not like being a quote unquote diss track. Like, you know what I mean? It has its moments where it's taking shots at people, but it's not like, back to back by Drake, where it's just a straight diss at Meek Mill. And to be honest, like, for whatever reason they're beefing with Kendrick Lamar's beefing with Drake, I think is, whatever. Um, Kendrick is a much better rapper than Drake is in terms of technical ability and lyrics. It feels weird to give Cole kind of some strays on this one. I
Yeah.
will say I personally feel like the bars were more directed at Drake, and it roped in J. Cole by association. So I don't really like put a whole lot of stock in the J. Cole Kendrick hate each other kind of thing. Um, and I will say it seems there's a couple things that kind of irk me about the J. Cole or about the Kendrick Lamar disses on here, because he's literally like an album ago talking about maturing out of all of these things. In Father Time, he directly refers to rap beefs, saying
Yeah.
like, how do I mature past this? How do I get to a point where like I can be cool with the guys I don't like or I haven't liked? Um, that seems kind of weird to me. It seems kind of weird to diss lyrical rappers for not being as good of lyricists as you, for not being in the GOAT conversation when you're rapping on a song with Future.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I don't think Future's a big artist, but I just think it's weird to give those kinds of shots on a Future album.
Yeah.
That's another thing that kind of irks me about it. Personally, I don't think Drake or J. Cole is going to say anything, at least off the bat. Drake, to refer to the meme, Drake's the type of guy to just wait for his album to come up and then sing about how you dissed him uh, over like, a SZA feature.
Yeah.
um, Anyways, I don't think J. Cole's going to address it because J. Cole doesn't feel like he's in that headspace of coming at another guy when it's something like that. Um, you know, he's like he had beef with people that he could have eviscerated, right? Like
Yeah.
he had the Lil Pump beef, he had the 6ix9ine beef, and then on songs later, he's like, "I wish you the best," praying
Right.
for 6ix9ine with his situation that he gets himself sorted out and gets to a
Right.
better place. J. Cole didn't really strike me as someone that's going to say much about this if he says anything.
Yeah.
I feel like if he says anything, it's going to also be on another song or another project later. And the extent of it is going to be like, I'm worried about me. I'm not worried about what other people are saying about me.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Um, just to wrap up features, the Cardi feature is pretty weak. I think it's better than his feature on Utopia, though. That's what I'll say. I gave the features a 9 because I think they're generally super solid.
Yeah. I gave them an 8 just to kind of get the rating part out of the way. Like I said not too long ago, I do like how Travis and The Weeknd sound. I don't really remember Rick Ross or his feature at all, so I'm not gonna say it's good or bad. Um, it's really the Playboy Cardi that gets me. He's just not good, and I'll never understand why people like him, but to each their own. Um, with Kendrick, see, I'm a little different with where you're at because I don't know. I love I love everything about it. I want there to be more rap beef, especially with people I care about, because all of these other people, like, who cares? They're all in the exact same genre and conversation of like mid. But Kendrick going at Drake, and whether he is like shooting at Cole too, or if it is just wrapped in with Drake, I don't care. I love it. Um, I've looked into why J. Cole like plenty of times. And I mean, if you dive deep, you find out that they're constantly taking shots at each other, but it's never like, oh, you're definitely dissing Kendrick
Right.
Lamar. You're definitely dissing Cole. No, but
It's like
there's definitely jabs.
this jab could be applied to a J. Cole or a Kendrick
Right.
Lamar,
Yeah,
right?
like
It's not like they're saying by album name, by song name,
Right.
or like by name referencing them. I've
The
seen a lot of that stuff as well. Yeah.
the only two that I saw were like, once again, you still got to dive kind of deep, but one being when he was on the song Stick, J. Cole, like with whoever the heck he was on that song with.
Check West.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
bunch of no names. Kendrick makes reference of talking about the dude with the stick or whatever the line is. In Old Project, he talked about like the fall off and kind of saying that's like, yeah, you're falling off to Cole, and then Cole somewhere, I don't remember. Oh no, Cole said it in a first person shooter, like, yeah, my album's called The Fall Off, but I'm not talking about me, like ironically, like I haven't
Mm-hmm.
fallen off at all. So they've always taken jabs at each other. The only reason why I feel like they're not gonna get into anything major, unfortunately, because I think that bring the best out of both of them. Um, they've been homies since the very beginning. Like
Yeah.
Cole put Kendrick on with Dr. Dre. Like they've done
Yeah.
work for each other. Cole has produced for Kendrick. Kendrick has had like a couple little features
Yeah.
with Cole. So I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I
I
just would
mean,
love it.
yeah. I mean, you never know. Future
Right.
beefing with Drake, and they got an album together. They got a whole
Yeah.
album together.
Yeah. No, I I love
I mean, J. Cole and Kendrick have a song together.
right. Dude, just my favorite thing about this feature is just the amount of disrespect he showed Drake. And oh, it
Oh
made me
yeah.
so happy. Like I've been saying forever he's not this good. And now somebody with a huge platform is finally saying it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
mean, that's not to say that other people haven't, dissed Drake. I know
Said it.
there's plenty of disses, but it's different when it's Kendrick Lamar, when it
Yeah.
is one of the people that everybody claims
Yeah.
is top 3 in the game right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that it's definitely
For sure.
one of my favorite features in a very long time. I'm so glad
Yeah.
that Kendrick came in with that kind of energy. Like everybody was, crying and pouting, "Oh, where's the Kendrick Lamar we want?" Like that last album
Yeah.
was trash, Hillbillies is whatever. Like where's Ken? And he showed up exactly like he did and shut up a
Yeah.
lot of people in my opinion. So,
Yeah. The only thing I will say about that is it makes Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers feel like a weird album to me a little bit. And
yeah.
it's hard to judge it based on this because it's such a small sample size. Like, is he really just upset at Drake and that's where we're going from this? Or
Yeah.
is it like we're taking a step back to the old Kendrick? Because that's more what I'm saying feels kind of weird
Yeah.
coming off of an album like that. But
See, the most that I can see from that is like I feel like he is in that space where he's what he's talking about in Mr. Morale. I just think Drake is really annoying. And if I was in Kendrick's position, I probably would have done the same thing. Like, all right, pause my whole I'm in a better place thing. Let me go disrespect somebody real quick. I'll get back on
yeah,
track after that. So I could see it
yeah,
being that more so.
yeah.
Um, but I could be
And
wrong.
to agree with you there in Mr. Morale when he's talking about rap beef, he's like and maturing out of it. He's like, I don't understand how they're doing that. I've still got some maturing to do. So maybe we're still catching Kendrick in that headspace of
He's
like,
working on it.
yeah, maybe he's not like fully in a place where he can just get over stuff with people. Um,
Yeah.
I'll also agree with you. I wish J. Cole would just come in with old reliable. I brought you into this world and I can take you out of it. Like
Literally.
that would be. I think that would be fantastic. I
Bro.
just don't foresee him doing that. He's not that type of guy. For the last year, people have been like, Drake's got beef with Young Boy, or not Drake. J. Cole's got beef with Young Boy, and then on First Person Shooter, and in an album where Drake is by name dissing Young Boy, J. Cole's like, still want to get me a song with YB. You can't trust everything that you saw on IG,
Yeah.
Like, I'm cool with guys. Don't believe everything you hear.
Yeah.
Um, I personally will say I think Cole's had the best recent project out of the three of them.
Hmm.
I think I before this I would have said he's rapping the best out of the three of them. Kendrick sounds pretty solid though, so
I think on a
you can't count him out.
consistency, right. I do think that on a consistency level though, I would give Cole the upper hand. Um, And that's not to take any credit away from Kendrick's feature here. Like I think this is the best
Yeah.
verse he's done in a minute. Um, but I'm hoping at least energy wise and like where he's at lyrically right now. I hope that continues.
Yeah.
But I want there to be the conversation of Cole and Kendrick again.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I
Um,
don't care about Drake. He's not top three.
yeah. And then you've got obviously like Kanye can't just let something happen in rap without making it about him. So have you seen the Kanye stuff that he said about it?
No.
Kanye like I don't remember the whole post, but like he put up on his story, the first thing he said is everybody knows I washed Kendrick on No More Parties in LA when we did that track together. And I was like, no, dude, you're on the same side. You both hate Drake. Just like, you know, we
Man
could
just
have
wants
had J.
enemies.
Cole and we could have had J. Cole and Drake on Ye production. Or I mean, sorry. We could have had Kendrick
Kendrick and
on Kanye production
yeah.
going at Drake and J. Cole.
Nah.
But like,
Kanye wants enemies and only enemies.
yeah. And then you've got Travis that Travis Scott will just like put Kanye on one song and then Drake on the next. So,
Yeah.
he's just chilling.
There's a bro,
Uh
if there is this like civil war type thing, like I'm interested to see like who goes where. Cause like
yeah.
for instance, 21 Savage or like I don't know. There's like a lot
Yeah.
of couple names where they're just like there, and I know they don't really care to get into this beef. Like,
Yeah.
is what it is. Like, yeah, Eminem for one is like like Eminem's cool with absolutely everyone, so you can't rely
Yeah,
on him for
between that group.
anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
like
sure.
nothing. So I'm I
Dr.
hope that
Dre's obviously chill with all of them.
right. So like yeah,
I feel
I don't
like
know.
I feel like J. Cole probably got a little better relationship with Jay-Z. So maybe
Yeah,
maybe that's something.
yeah. It
Uh
I want it to happen so bad. Do I
yeah, it
ever
would be
get what I
crazy.
want? No.
No,
So will it
no. I
happen?
mean, it's not
Probably
gonna
not.
happen, but
Yeah, but
yeah.
one can dream.
Yeah. I saw another post on social media that was like Drake and Metro beefing is gonna put 21 Savage in a parentless home. Like his two collab buddies are just going at it. He's gonna have nobody to chill with now.
I saw this post on TikTok. It's one where you have to like swipe through. It's like Metro and then like Drake like beefing and in the studio and whatever. The third slide is just 21 Savage in Disney World with a little hat on. Like
Yeah,
it's like poor,
he's
poor
just
21.
minding his business.
He's just hanging out, having a good time.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But
Um,
anyways,
yeah, let's get into our last category
right.
here. Wrap this thing up. Let's talk replay value. I mean, we've kind of alluded to where we're gonna get with this, but tell me about your thoughts on what you're gonna come back to.
I'm only coming back to like this. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
It's
that's
it was
that's the
it was
only one
just
for you.
so not enjoyable for me. Like it's
Yeah,
which sucks because I was actually excited, but to me, I can't even come back for production because I didn't even enjoy the production like that.
sure.
And the fact that it's future, I just don't like. So it's really unfortunate,
Yeah.
but it is what it is. Like I wish I could give this rating a lot higher. But it's a one. Like
Mm,
eh,
yeah,
unfortunate.
because
I
there's one
but
track you're coming back to.
exactly. So
Yeah,
there's only
for
so
sure.
much I can do.
I definitely have come back to quite a bit of it since it came out, and I think that I will continue to come back to it for a while. I do think there's a lot of stuff that there's a couple of duds on it for me that I don't think are fantastic, and there's a few that are like one time plays for me. Like, okay, a song I enjoyed, but I'm not gonna really be listening to it all that much.
Yeah.
Um, but I gave it an 8. Like you, I think like that with Kendrick Lamar is the song that I'll come back to the most. I just think it's the most playable. The beat's the best.
Yeah.
Everybody sounds the best. Even Future sounds great on
Yeah.
this one.
100%.
But they're like Cinderella. I enjoy Everyday Hustle with Rick Ross. I think is really good.
Cinderella wasn't bad. I'll give you that. Cinderella was actually
Yeah.
not half bad. So
So I think there's a few that I will come back to. What was the other one that I said? Oh, Young Metro, I think is solid with The Weekend. But anyways, I gave it an 8 for replay, and it came out to around a 7.5 as a whole, which is about how I felt about it. I don't think it's a perfect album. I think there's a lot that I wish would have been done differently,
yeah,
but a good amount that I do enjoy with it.
right. So mine came out to being a 5, and yeah, like
That's how you feel.
I'd probably go lower. Like I'd probably give it like a 4, but I just numbers
Oh,
don't lie.
so
So
worse than Beyonce and Machine Gun Kelly.
oh, easily.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's
I
crazy.
know words that I didn't think were going to come out of my mouth,
Yeah, yeah,
but here we are. So
and that's the way it is.
yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do next week because
Yeah,
the last 2 weeks have been like I was telling a buddy of mine. I feel like we would have had one of these albums come out, or had any of these
yeah,
albums come out at different weeks. We would have been like, oh, let's for sure review that one,
absolutely.
just because these are like the art kinds of artists that we talk about. But
And then they all decided, no,
they
let's
all dropped it
all
at
drop
once.
the exact same time. Oh,
Yeah,
also, we don't talk about it, but shout out Ariana, you dropped an album.
yeah,
It
it
wasn't
was
half
pretty
bad.
boring.
Oh, I did. It was like nice background music.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it was nice
I,
elevator music for a 20-second trip that I would take. No, I'm being a little facetious. I haven't come back to that one yet, but it's better than her recent projects.
yeah,
I for me anyway. So
yeah, I was vibing, but yeah, shout out Ariana.
yeah, um, yeah. That's
Cool.
We Don't Trust You,
Yeah.
Metro and Future. You hated it. I thought it
Oh
was pretty
yeah.
solid.
At least one of us
Um,
liked it. That's all that matters.
yeah. I mean, I put out my top 5 rap albums through the first quarter of the year on Instagram, or I guess just on all social media.
Yeah.
I'm curious now to see what you're going to put out for that. I feel like we
Yeah.
got one coming soon,
Bro,
maybe.
once you put it at number 2, I was like, oh, here we go. This is gonna be an
Yeah,
interesting
yeah,
talk.
yeah. I put the
Oh,
Benny the Butcher above it, and I stand by it. I think the Benny the
yeah.
Butcher is a much better album. So
I need to listen to that one. I think
yeah,
that'll be my homework for this week. I'll listen to
yeah.
that.
I think you will enjoy that one if you didn't like this one.
Cool. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
he's a much better rapper in technical proficiency than Future. So
Cool. I'm for it.
all right. Until next time, we say
Yes.
sayonara for now,
Adios.
and have a good week, everybody.
Bye.
Cheers.